I have been so excited to do this video for you guys. Laporte, Colorado is one of my favorite parts of northern Colorado. It's the perfect blend between the small town rural vibe while only being 15 minutes outside of Fort Collins, so you still have access to the shops, the restaurants, and the busier city life. I guess Fort Collins is a city, but still on a smaller scale, I'd say. But if you enjoy the outdoors, you crave to own acreage one day where you can have livestock, or want to plant an enormous veggie garden so you can feed your whole family and never have to go to the store for vegetables, Laporte, Colorado may be the place for you. If you visited our channel before, you're probably super familiar with Fort Collins, maybe even an expert at this point. And you're probably quite familiar with Windsor, Loveland, Greeley, Wellington, the towns and larger cities or larger towns that surround Fort Collins, Colorado. But I wouldn't be surprised if you've never heard of Laporte. If you head up 287, which if you're familiar with around here, that's College Avenue. If you head up 287 towards Wyoming, you're gonna hit Laporte, Colorado, just 15 minutes outside of Fort Collins. It's a town that sits very close and on the Cache-la-Poudre River. And if you kept going up 287, you would eventually hit Livermore, and then if you kept going, you'd hit Wyoming. So I'm gonna be talking to you today about Laporte, Colorado. Laporte has been near and dear to my heart for quite a few years, especially in the last year. I have lived in Fort Collins, Wellington, about to move to Loveland in a few months, which is super exciting. Been here for about 7 years, it'll be 8 in August, and Laporte has always been this sweet place that I enjoy visiting. Vern's restaurant, Vern's Place. It's an iconic breakfast place. My favorite part is that if you sit in the booths by the window, you can see the mountains. It's beautiful. The food's great. Silver Girl actually just bought it. So if you know Silver Girl in Old Town, they just bought Vern's, which is super cool. So visited Vern's Place, Me Oh My Pies. I've had a few business meetings there. It's another local pie shop. There's so much food in there. But I also one of my friends lives up in Laporte and I ride her horse for her. She lives in a neighborhood that I'll probably come on and talk about one day. Bonner's Peak is the neighborhood. It's a 3,200 acre neighborhood with about tons of 40-acre plots that are divided up with access to the National Forest. And so every week for the last year, I've gotten to go up and ride there. It is stunning. It's only about 17 minutes from Fort Collins. I live in Wellington, so it's about 20 minutes for me coming from Wellington. And you just feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere. Oftentimes when I ride, I see nobody, and it's wonderful. And so Laporte is near and dear to my heart. There's a lot more rural, it's a lot more of a rural feel and a lot larger plots of land out there. So if that's something you're interested in, Laporte definitely may be something to check out. There are about 2,200 people that live in Laporte, Colorado. It has come down slightly from the last census in 2020, but I pulled this from 2021. The town is about 6.2 square miles, and the median household income is $61,680, and this is from 2021, so I'm sure it's gone up a bit from since then. And about 73% home ownership in Laporte. So definitely a heavier percentage of people owning their homes instead of renting them, but definitely can still find rentals. I have a friend that rents a really sweet little place just tucked in the hills in Laporte, Colorado, so it's a great place for both. Laporte was settled permanently in 1844 by some French-Canadian fur trappers. They built about 50 houses along the river and named the town Colonia. And in 1860, the town reorganized as Laporte Town Site Company. It was the bustling business and supply center for immigrants, wagon trains, and stagecoaches that were frequently coming through. They had 4 saloons, 1 brewery, a hotel, a general store, a butcher shop, and 2 blacksmith shops. And what I found so intriguing while doing my research about Laporte's history is that it was the place. It was the most important settlement north of Denver until, and Camp Collins was established by the U.S. Army in 1862, but after the flood in 1864, Camp Collins was relocated down to Fort Collins. So it's just crazy to think that Laporte at one point was like the place to go anywhere north of Denver, but then after the flood, that's what then kind of led to the establishment of Fort Collins, which is I think it's so interesting. I did know, like even to this day when looking at homes in Laporte, looking at the flood risk is super important just because a lot of homes are sitting right on the river, which is stunning and beautiful. My friends recently actually went and looked at a home that sold in 2023 when it was on the market, and it was a beautiful, I think it was just under an acre, sitting on the river. But just something to know if you are looking in Laporte, that looking at that flood risk is important. There aren't as many restaurants in Laporte as there are in Fort Collins, but there's definitely a few favorites, and I know many people who drive from Fort Collins to go out to these places in Laporte. Vern's, as I mentioned before, Vern's Place, great If you love breakfast, lunch, dinner, it's a sweet diner. One of my favorite parts about it is you walk in and there's just like an older generation sitting in there, and I just find it really sweet. So love Vern's, like I said, recently bought by Silver Grill. Me Oh My Pies, super sweet local pie shop. They have you walk in and the menu is just, it's huge. They have fresh pies every day and they change the flavor, so you can always call up and say, what are your local pies right now? Super sweet place, and if you've got a hankering for pie, I don't know at another place I would go. Laporte Pizza, when my dad and my stepmom came to visit me a couple years ago, they got a Airbnb out in Laporte, and one night we ordered Laporte Pizza and it was so good.
Nice.
It's a super sweet pizza place, a favorite among the locals, so definitely something to try out if you're around there next or craving some pizza. And Swing Station, I remember going in here for the first time a few years ago with some friends after we went out riding. It is the local watering hole. They are huge in live music, so if you love that, they have a lot of different games. They have an inside and outside that you can sit, obviously not at this time of the year, but in the summertime, if you like to sit outside, enjoy some live music, play some games. It's a super sweet place just on the corner. And they are also offering $1 off their draft beer if you ride your bike there. So super sweet little place. When talking to my friends who are local and live in Laporte, it is not their first choice to go shopping in the town, as there's not a ton to choose from. They usually are going to go to North Fort Collins. So there's like a King Soopers. There's a big shopping center right over there. So you can get everything you need, and it's very, very close to Laporte. But Laporte does have an Laporte Foods, so local grocery store. They also have an old feed store, as well as many other businesses. A lot of the businesses are more construction, livestock based, which is great if that's what you're doing out there, is what you need. There is a Cash Laputer Elementary School, Cash Laputer IB Middle School, and then there's a Puter Community Academy High School out there too. So the schools are right along 287 as you're heading through kind of like the main town, and then heading out towards where Vern's is. So I asked my friend who lives in Bonners Peak, the gal that I ride for, she has lived there for, I think, I want to say 2 or 3 years now. I believe she came from Windsor. So totally different vibe, and came to Laporte, Colorado. And I asked her, what did she think about living in Laporte? And she told me, she's the one who let me know that she does most of her shopping in northern Fort Collins. So that's like the King Soopers, the Starbucks, there's tons of stuff right there. But she said Laporte has its own small town feel and is also somewhat an extension of Fort Collins. She loves being rural while also being a 17-minute drive to town. There isn't anything she doesn't love about living there. So anyone that I know that lives in Laporte loves it. Like I said, if you're really into the rural vibe, if you like having animals on your own property, you're looking for more space, maybe you have this dream to be able to suntan naked in your yard and nobody see you, Laporte's a place you can do that for not a crazy price. That leads me into properties and housing in Laporte, Colorado. What kind of places can you buy there? The median price point in 2023, now bearing in mind this was only 22 homes sold, was $100,000, but I am going to break that up between median price point of attached homes, so like they have a lot of different condominiums there, homes that are less than an acre, single family residences, and then homes that are on more than an acre, up to I think 40 acres was one of the biggest properties sold. So just because of the wide range of types of properties you can buy in Laporte, I think that kind of skews the overall median sales price. So I'm going to talk about that in more detail. So there are 3 condos sold in Laporte, Colorado. So those are located just in town. You can walk to Laporte Pizza, Swing Station, Me Oh My Pies. You can walk to all of it. So 3 condos sold. The median price point was, all of them sold for about $260, $265. So definitely affordable home. I would say condos in Fort Collins are definitely going to be a little bit higher than that. So if you're looking to you just want to get your foot in the door, you want to put a plain piece on the board and buy some property, maybe a condo in Laporte, just being 15 minutes outside of Fort Collins is an option for you. Homes less than an acre, median price point was $480,000. The lowest was $389,000 and the highest was $565,000. So, and some of these homes were quite big. And the largest of these was on 0.6 of an acre. So median price point for these was $480,000. These homes are going to be a bit closer into town as well. Obviously, as we get to the homes that are over an acre, those are going to be a bit farther out and more of a drive. Of the 22 homes sold, 7 of them were the single family attached less than an acre. Of the 22 homes, we had 12 homes that were over an acre sold in 2023. Now on the low end acreage wise, we're about 1.16 acres and 1.163, 4 acres. And on the high end, the highest is 40 acres. And we had 5 homes sold in Bonners Peak Ranch, which is that neighborhood I was telling you about. That's where I have the opportunity to ride every week. 3,200 acres, like I said, 40 acre plots with access to the National Forest. So it is heaven on earth for me. It is my favorite place to go. It is so beautiful. You have all different kind of homes there. Some very spectacular homes for sure. So a lot of the homes that sold in Bonner's Peak were between $950 and $1.5 million. And like I said, they all have 40 acres. There's definitely a lot of rock and mountainous out there. So you're not going to have 40 acres of necessarily land that you can use, but 40 acres, that's yours. And so the median price point for homes, an acre or more in Laporte, Colorado was just about $1 million. So there you have it, living in Laporte, Colorado. If you haven't visited, drive up there, take a little look. I mean, blink and you'll miss it town-wise. The town is quite small, but it is so quaint. But driving up the little road, seeing the different homes that there are there, different kind of properties. If you want to have livestock, if you want to have a huge veggie garden, if you homeschool and just want to be a little bit further away from people, Laporte is such a wonderful place to go, while still, like I said, only being 15 minutes away from Fort Collins. So if you have a favorite tea shop or coffee shop or church, or your friends are all in Fort Collins, you're not that far away, which is wonderful, but you're getting to experience the rural lifestyle, having 2, 20, 40 acres, you know? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you live in Laporte and disagree or agree with anything I said, I'd love to see your comments below. Like I said, I do not live there. I would love to one day, but this is just coming from someone who spends quite a bit of time there, has some friends who live in the area, and has visited the local restaurants. So hope you guys enjoyed. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you next month.